Tony Abbott has said this morning that it's up to the Liberal Party organisers as to whether to the future of Alan Jones.
Tony Abbott has one core test for his leadership. Will he sack Mr Jones from the Liberal Party? Will he ban Mr Jones from attending future Liberal Party functions? And will he himself boycott Mr Jones's program in the future? These are the core tests of Mr Abbott's leadership. He can dance around it as much as he likes. That's what he must do, that's what he should do, and so far that's what he's failing to do.
How do you feel about the issue?
Well, I said what I felt about this on Sunday. I believe the comments were the lowest of the low, and therefore it was incumbent on Mr Abbott to act. I've noticed a lot of Conservative commentary around this morning say, well, how could this possibly be anything to do with Mr Abbott? I mean, give us a break. I mean, these guys have been like that for decades in Australian politics, like that. Not just Alan Jones and Mr Howard, but Alan Jones and Tony Abbott. And when you listen to part of the transcript of Mr Jones's speech, he constantly uses the word we, referring to we, that's meaning the assembled young Liberals as well. Therefore, you cannot simply try and crab walk your way out of this. Mr Abbott has to show some leadership and turf this bloke out of his party and make sure his party has nothing to do with him in the future. If he's serious, if it's just a bit of show acting, well, you know, I'm sure the country will reach their own conclusions on that.
Just on Ford, do you think that the car company has a future in Australia, and do you think that Australians have the right to know how much the government is spending on propping the industry up?
I always believe in transparency on these matters because the Australian taxpayer has a right to know how its dollars are being spent. I, together with then Industry Minister Kim Carr, developed the new car plan for Australia's future back in, I think, 2008 and early 2009. That was critical to ensuring that our major automobile manufacturers maintained their operations in Australia when they were shutting in all other countries around the world. We succeeded in that, and remember, the auto industry in this country employs something like 250,000 Australians. It's a big employer, but on the other part of your question, we should be transparent always about how we're using the taxpayers' dollars.
Just back on Alan Jones, sorry. When you go to Sydney, will you be listening to his show or are you going to boycott it?
Well, I certainly won't be going on it, and usually for my better health over the years, I've not listened to it either. So I think it's just time to, give his program just a wide berth. I think that's the sensible attitude to be adopted around the country, and I think that would be good as well.
You've been in the public eye a lot lately. How many invitations do you get to speak at events like these?
A lot more than I ever accept. That's just the truth. I have responsibilities in my own community in Brisbane, but when colleagues and friends like Maria ask me to attend functions which are important to her local community, but more broadly, important on national themes such as multiculturalism, then I'll be there, and I'll be speaking at other national events during the course of this week and into the future as well.
You're asking Side about your readiness to resume combat. If the opportunity for frontbench service arose, would you be up for it?
I made my position clear, absolutely clear on that in February this year when the ballot for the leadership of the Labor Party occurred. My position hasn't changed.
What kind of role will you be playing in the lead up to the next election?
Well, I have my first and foremost responsibility to secure my own seat of Griffith in Brisbane. And these are tough times for the Australian Labor Party nationally, and we all know that, and therefore we have a responsibility to look after our own patch. In Queensland more broadly, where we have a newly elected Liberal National Party government with the biggest majority in the 150-year history of the state of Queensland, I've got a responsibility to help out my colleagues there to the greatest extent that I can, and elsewhere in the country as individual members request, and I have received quite a number of those requests.
Do you feel more optimistic about the party's prospects since the last 3 months?
As I said, I think in the last couple of weeks, it's good that the party and the government are doing better, and part of my reason for remaining nationally engaged is because, as I've said and said time and time again, I'll do everything while I draw breath to prevent Mr Abbott from becoming the next Prime Minister of Australia. I don't think that's good for the country at any level. I don't think he's got the temperament or the policies for Australia's future. I think on sensitive questions like multiculturalism, for a guy who goes out there in print and says that most of the modern world is made in English, this is his book Battle Lines, and puts great faith as in the cornerstone of Australia's future foreign policy in what he describes as the Anglosphere. I think we've got a guy there who's radically out of step with what this country needs for its future.
In your view, how serious is the Chinese slowdown for Australia, and has China's growth hit a peak, and does there need to be reform in
I spent a large part of last week in China and also in Singapore as well, but much of the discussion there was on the future of the Chinese economy. I was in Shanghai and Beijing and then later in Hong Kong. Plainly there is concern in China about the slowdown, and the debate within the country is whether growth will come in north of 8% or north of 7%. People might say, well, that doesn't add up to a lot. It does in terms of ensuring that employment is kept up in China. So for Australia, I see the warnings from Ross Garnaut today in the national newspapers. I share his concerns about where all this could take us. And I have worked for Ross in the past, including when he was my ambassador in the embassy in Beijing. He's made a careful study of the Chinese economy for the last 25 years, and therefore we should listen to his words with some care and consideration. However, for the immediate period ahead, we need to focus on two things. One, the Chinese are embarked upon a medium-scale stimulus strategy for the rest of this financial year. Analysts with whom I've spoken in Beijing suggest that growth will still come out close to 8%. And second, however, I think is the more salient point, and that is for the immediate period ahead, the period following January this year, as China adapts to a new growth model, and one based increasingly on services and less carbon-intensive energy consumption, that in turn will have implications for Australia's future export markets. And as I said way back when I was campaigning to become Prime Minister of Australia, the job of national economic management is to prepare Australia for when the mining boom is over. Back then, Mr Howard used to laugh in my face, Mr Costello used to laugh in my face. We've been doing some things since then, including rolling out a national broadband network to provide the underpinnings for the future of the Australian economy, and export markets which we've yet to tap beyond China, and in services industries which rely upon digital communication. So we've made some big investments in the future infrastructure needs for a broadened base of the Australian economy, but there'll be some rocky times ahead.
So what's your understanding of whether China is likely to back Australia's bid for a UN Security Council seat?
I have nothing to comment on that because I'm sure the Foreign Minister has that under control.